Recording in progress.
So I got y'all plugged up on my phone as well. Thanks everybody coming in. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, say where you're from. If you're with a company or coalition, we'd love to hear from you. And I was gonna say good morning, but it's not good morning for a lot of you. Good time of day to you all. Thanks for being here. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very glad to have you here today. I know it's been rough for a lot of us in Florida, so hopefully the hurricanes have treated you and yours well, and everyone's recovering and rebuilding. So we're really glad that you could join us today. If you're not from Florida, hey, we're happy to have you as well. As people are trickling in, we'll start in just a minute or two. Please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat box, where you're from, who you are, and we're glad to have you with us today. We'll start in just a minute or two. All right, we're going to get started. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We are here for the webinar, Gas Station Drugs, Protecting Your Workplace from Emerging Substance Risks. We are really glad to have everyone. Again, if you're from the Florida area or even, North Carolina, and you've been affected from the recent hurricanes, we're very glad that you're here. We hope that you are rebuilding and recovering all right. And again, this webinar was meant to happen during Drug-Free Work Week, National Drug-Free Work Week, which happened last week. But of course, hurricanes have a mind of their own. So we're really glad that you all could join us now and hope that things are going well for you and yours. Today, we are hosted by the Drug-Free America Foundation, which is a drug prevention and policy organization committed to developing strategies and educational programs that prevent drug use and promote sustained recovery. Our vision is that we live in a world where all people live free of the burden of drug abuse. And as a division, the workplace division of Drug-Free America Foundation, today we are especially hosted by the National Drug-Free Workplace Alliance. Our mission is to be a national leader in the drug-free workplace industry by directly assisting employers and stakeholders, providing drug-free workplace program resources and assistance like you'll see here today, and supporting a national coalition of drug-free workplace service providers. If you haven't already, please feel free to introduce yourself and your organization in the chat box. When it comes to questions, we will ask that you pop those in the Q&A box. That helps just differentiate so we can tell what's a question and what's a hello. And we'll answer them as time allows today. And of course, we do just state that the content provided here is for educational purposes only, based on industry expertise. It is not legal advice, express or implied. Please make sure that you consult legal counsel before acting or not acting on any information from this webinar. All right, with all that business stuff aside, I am so happy to introduce Ellen Snelling, who will be presenting for us today. Ellen joined the Hillsborough County Anti-Drug Alliance, HCADA, as many of you know it, in 2000, after the organization provided valuable resources when she needed help for her daughter who was battling addiction. She now serves as HCADA board chair. Ellen founded and serves as chair of the Tampa Alcohol Coalition, TAC, whose mission is to prevent underage drinking, binge drinking, and impaired driving. She has many years of experience in alcohol and, I was going to say expertise, she has that too, in alcohol and drug policy and serves as a consultant to other coalitions. Ms. Snelling is a member of the Florida Coalition Alliance, Florida Impaired Driving Coalition, and volunteers for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. She received her MS degree in dietetics from Florida International University. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Ellen. Thank you.
All right, I guess I should start my video. Here I am. All right, everyone, I'm going to welcome to today's presentation, and it's really nice. I saw some of your names coming up in the chat, and a lot of you, we know each other, and I'm really glad that you're here and that you made it through the hurricanes. So, let me share my screen. Can everyone see that? Is that good, Heather? Give me some thumbs up. Okay. All right, so we are going to be talking about gas station drug trends. And first I'm going to talk about Delta-8 THC. Delta-8 THC is made from CBD. Who would have thought you could take a substance like CBD, which is non-intoxicating, and make it into THC? But the chemists figured out how to do it. It's legal because of a loophole in the Farm Bill, which is passed in 2018, made hemp legal, but unfortunately these other byproducts are legal at this time. They're sold in gas stations, convenience stores, smoke shops, CBD shops, pretty much everywhere. Produces intoxicating effects very, very similar, if not exactly the same as Delta-9 THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. There's no regulatory oversight. Hemp products sold as Delta-8 are not pure and can contain contaminants and other compounds. And there's more than Delta-8. I haven't even checked in the last couple of months, but I know there's Delta-10, THCO, THCV, THCP, and the list goes on. What do they look like? Well, the people that are making these products are very creative in their marketing, as far as I'm concerned, to children and young adults. And you can see the bright colors, the fruit flavors, but there's edible candies, vape products, flour or smokable, oils, capsules, beverages, chips, cereals, you name it, they're making it. So very brief chemistry lesson. Cannabidiol, which is CBD, you take acid, catalyst, solvents, and heat, and voila, you have THC. It's really very simple, unfortunately. So you get Delta-8, Delta-9, Delta-10, and all these other products you can make from this process. And scientists that have looked at the products that are being sold said that very rarely is it actually purely, let's say it has Delta-8. It usually has other deltas in it, including Delta-9, and it has contaminants such as heavy metals and acids and things like that. So this chemist said that people are guinea pigs if they're using these products. When I first found out about this, I can't believe it's already been a couple years ago. I said, this can't happen in where I live, which is, kind of a small part of Hillsborough County, Temple Terrace. So I went into my convenience stores and gas stations, and then here we go. I found Tittles, 500 milligrams of THC, Flying Monkey, Delta-8 gummies, Skittles, and Nerds Rope. Honestly, I could barely believe it because, as you can see, these products look extremely similar to actual children's candies, but they contain THC. And if you look at the Skittles, it says Delta-8, 250 milligrams. Who knows what that is? I mean, I know now, but at the time, I didn't really know what it was. And it has a tiny little pot leaf in the corner. Other than that, it says tear and share. So I wanted you to see what regular Skittles looks like and then compare it to this medicated THC Skittles. And you can see they're ripping off the logo. I mean, it looks exactly the same. There's no way. First of all, adults can tell the difference, really. There's not even enough information on the label for an adult, but it definitely for a child would tear this open and eat the whole package. What does it look like in a store? Well, this was a convenience store that I went to in Sun City, and it's actually a retirement community. And I couldn't believe they have 2 full cases of this stuff. And it was edibles and vapes. And the vapes look like nicotine vapes. That's what you would think it is, but they're full of THC. 1 gram, which is 1,000 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams and higher, I've seen in these vapes of THC. And again, when you see these products, how attractive would these be to children with the bright colors, fruit flavors? So I found one product, Trap Trees, blue raspberry slushy gummies, that there's one in that package. It has 1,000 milligrams of THC in one. Just to give you a reference, back in the day, back in the 70s, a joint had 10 milligrams of Delta-9 THC. This is one gummy, 1,000 milligrams. I mean, it's mind-boggling. And imagine the effects this would have on a child. And so they have gummy worms with HCP, which is another form of, derivative that's made from CBD. And now they're adding, this is interesting, in the last few months I've seen they're putting mushroom in with the THC as well as kratom. So we don't even know what one of these things do to your body. Can you imagine when you combine them, what kind of effect that would have? And then I had to show you my demon gummies, which have 7,000 milligrams in one package of THC. So what does the FDA have to say? Well, the FDA is our friend, right? They are very concerned about Delta-8, and they say it has serious health consequences. Some of the things that they're saying is that it's never been evaluated or approved by the FDA for safe use. So they are not recommending it at all. They're saying it's not safe. They've received adverse event reports. 55% of the adverse events required medical intervention, including either the emergency room or hospital. And it's not just mild events, it's hallucinations, vomiting, tremor, anxiety, dizziness, confusion, and even loss of consciousness. I'm going to tell you a few kind of case studies of what happens when this gets into a child's hands or an adult. And I just want you to be thinking of, if you're an employer, of now that you're knowledgeable about this, things that can happen to your employees' families. You want to let them know about this, but also what can happen to your employees when they eat one of these and they don't even know what it is, or if they smoke a vape and they don't realize that it's intoxicating. So this happened in Florida, and a family came down from Ohio visiting Tarpon Springs, and they, after a long day, they wanted something to eat and drink, so they went to a place called Groovy Smoothie. Well, they had no idea there would be cannabis available in the products, but when they were asking about cake pops for the child, she said, well, the clerk said, do you want cannabis enhanced, or do you want our kid-friendly cake pops? And the mother said, well, of course I want kid-friendly. It's a 3-year-old. So they got this really nice cake pop for the child and started going home. On the way home, the toddler started crying, and then he became sedated and kind of passed out. Then he woke up and he started twitching like he was having seizures. So they rushed him to the emergency room. They test his blood level, and he had THC overdose. And the family just was so shocked, but they remembered back to the store that mentioned cannabis, and they put 2 + 2 together, and they accidentally got a THC enhanced cake pop. So this is right when I first started getting interested in this and thinking, like, I have got to do something about this. People just do not know what's going on, and it's really dangerous, especially for our kids. And this is a picture that appeared in Newsweek, and it was also on television, of this family who came from Ohio to visit Florida as a tourist, and their child ended up in the emergency room because he got a THC cake pop. And who wouldn't want this, right? Look how delicious that looks. But they're putting THC into these delicious desserts. Another really sad case that resulted in a death from because of these THC products was a mom that I know in Jacksonville, and her son Nathaniel had worked for a long time at a company right there in Jacksonville, and he started having problems at work. Like, he would go and talk to his boss, and he said he was having very strange thoughts. So what was happening is he was developing psychosis, and the boss tried to talk to him because he was so upset about it, but there was really nothing he could do. And so Nathaniel went home and started expressing really strange thoughts about the world was going to end, and just bizarre statements. And the parents knew something was wrong, but they just didn't know what to do. They were trying to figure out, do we need to bring him to a doctor? He became very isolated, just stayed in his room. This all happened in a very short time, like 1 to 2 weeks. They got a bunch of packages from Amazon coming to their door every day, and it was survival gear, because he thought the world was going to end. He said China was going to attack us, and so he was getting ready, to be prepared. He quit his job. All these things were very strange for him. This is what was happening. The parents had no idea. He was in his 20s. He lived at home. He was vaping something. They thought it was nicotine. This is what it was. It was Buds Burn. It has Delta 8 THC, Delta 10, and THCO. All three of those in one vape, 1,000 milligrams per vape. This is what they found in his room. After what happened is he got so upset they couldn't console him. He got a hold of a weapon and committed suicide. So it was just horrible. The mom told me this story, and I just feel terrible about it. But they didn't even know what this was. They had no idea what their child was doing. And of course, the workplace didn't know either. So that's why I think it's so important. These things can definitely affect your employees in a very negative way. So another thing that I had been on some TV news stories about Delta 8, because once I found out about this, if any of you know me, I just, I don't just sit around. So I was going to the media and going to the county commission and city council meetings. So I did something, and I was on Good Day Tampa Bay. So this parent the next day wrote me this nice email, says, "Thank you for your focus of awareness on Delta 8. My 10-year-old was accidentally poisoned last year at a home show in Tampa. This is at our fairgrounds. He ended up eating an entire bag of Delta 8 Fruit Loops." Of course, the parents, when I show you the picture of it, they had no idea there was THC in it. They thought he was eating a bag of Fruit Loops that he collected. They were getting little samples at the home show, and they thought it was cereal. So they're driving back to Bradenton. The kid finishes eating it, and like within an hour or two, he got horribly sick. And again, the same type of thing, started losing consciousness. So they rushed him to an emergency room. Then they took him to another hospital. They didn't know what to do. He ended up at ICU at a regional teaching hospital for child hospital, John Hopkins. I'm sure you've all heard of John Hopkins. And he ended up spending a couple of nights there, all because he ate this Fruit Loop product that was full of THC that he accidentally got at this home show. So this is what the vendor had set up at the home show. He told the home show staff that he had a hemp table and CBD. So they said, sure, set it up. Tricks, Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, Stonios, and Captain Crunch, all full of THC. And the parents and even the people running the home show had no idea. So this child ate this Fruit Loop package that had 600 milligrams of THC in it. It's no wonder he got sick. So these are the kind of things that are happening because this is basically a new drug, an emerging drug, and we all need to be educated on it. This is, I think, my last example of something that I feel like would affect the workplace from a Delta 8 type product. This was a tour bus driver up in Connecticut. What happened is he blacked out on a Connecticut highway after eating THC-infused gummies. The guy had no idea what he's eating. He thought it was candy. So he was Chinese. He did not speak English, and he went into a store to get a snack, while he was doing this tour bus. They had a little break, and he snacked on this candy, and then he got back to drive, and he was taking 38 passengers to a casino. He was driving, and all of a sudden he started feeling really strange. He started swerving, so he was able to pull over the bus and actually call 911. And the state troopers came and found him passed out in the driver's seat. Of course, everybody in the bus was terrified, and it could have been so much worse. He could have easily had a terrible crash and killed everyone. So he ended up getting arrested, but he said through an interpreter, he did not know he thought it was candy. So it was Smokey's edibles, cannabis infused. And you can see in the corner, that's what it looks like. It just looks like a bag of gummies. And he did not know it had THC in it. So again, this is why we really need to educate everybody in the workforce about these things. So it can affect your place of work in so many different ways. And this is my last slide on Delta 8, but it shows you the policy across the country. It is legal because of the loophole in federal law, but some states have taken a step to make it illegal and they have banned it. Other states are in the process of it. Florida, right now we have age 21 to purchase these products, and we also have no marketing to children. But here where I live in Hillsborough County, there's over 500 places that sell it. So it's a little hard to keep up with all this stuff. So what I recommend is in your state, if this stuff is legal, I would start looking at trying to find a way to make it illegal because it is unregulated and it's dangerous, especially for children. Next, I'm going to talk about kratom. What is kratom? You probably heard of it, maybe kratom tea. It's a plant and it grows in Malaysia. It doesn't even grow in the United States, so it has to be imported. At this point, it's legal across the country. There's 6 states that have made it illegal. So in general, it's probably going to be legal in your state. It's sold just like Delta 8 products in convenience stores, gas stations, and smoke shops. These are what some of the products look like. You can see it's not quite as bad as the Delta 8, although it's getting to be that way. This is a little bit older slide. When I'm seeing it in the store now, it's definitely the bright colors, the fruit flavors, and they have the gummies now. But these were some of the ones from, like, say, within the last couple of years. They're liquids, they're gels, there's even like smokable, there's powders, there's different forms of it, and it can be made into a tea. So again, it's a tropical tree. It's not native to this country. It's from Southeast Asia. It has 2 major psychoactive ingredients, metragenine and 7-hydroxymetragenine. The use can lead to psychotic symptoms, psychological and physical dependence. Kratom side effects include nausea, itching, sweating, dry mouth, constipation, increased urination, tachycardia, lack of appetite, but this doesn't have it on the list, but it actually can cause death. It can cause an overdose death. What does the FDA have to say about this? Well, kratom acts in the brain just like opioids, which is really interesting. So it works on the same receptors as opioids. That's why you may have heard that it can be used to help you get off heroin and opioids. But when you're told that by, say, a clerk, they don't tell you that it also is addictive and it acts like an opioid. There's been documented at least 44 cases in which kratom contributed to death in often otherwise healthy young people. And this is a statement from the FDA. Kratom should not be used to treat medical conditions, nor should be used as an alternative to prescription opioids, because there's no evidence to show that it's safe or effective for any medical condition. Very interesting. There's been some lawsuits, I know in Florida and also other states, but the families are going after the companies making this because it's being sold in gas stations, convenience stores, smoke shops, and there's no warning labels required in Florida and a lot of other states. So people think it's for your health. It can help you get off opioids. It can give you energy. There's all these different talking points, but it doesn't even have warnings. So people can use this and have no idea, first of all, that it's addictive and that it has a lot of side effects. So this woman, Crystal Talavera, was only 39 years old. She has a family. She had a husband, kids, and she was just making breakfast and she used this supplement just, because that was something she was doing for her health, she thought. Well, her partner found her with an open package of kratom and she was deceased. So very sad. Like I said, she had children. And the Palm Beach coroner said that her cause of death was metragenine intoxication, which means kratom. Kratom was her cause of death. They were able to have a lawsuit against the company who made the product and awarded $4.6 million in economic damages to the estate, an additional $7 million awarded to the children. We're talking about big time lawsuits. So we'll see what happens. But I think the word is starting to get out how dangerous this particular product is. There was in Florida, we have the Tampa Bay Times. They did an investigative report on which I highly recommend, and it's available online if you'd like to see it. And you can get a copy of this PowerPoint, and I do have a link to it right at the bottom. They had like 4 different huge Sunday articles on kratom, and they really dug into it and exposed the industry and all the side effects. So I think it's something definitely worth reading. These are some of the products, and I know it's really outrageous. So we have strawberry donut kratom extract. And some of the more dangerous products are not necessarily the leaf or the teas, it's the extracts. And I think you all maybe know that the industry tends to go after however they can make the most money. And they seem to be interested in the most potent products and the highest levels of the active ingredient. Same thing with kratom. That's what's happening. So they found a way to make an extract, and they're making shots. That's what that first thing is. And you can see who, like what senior citizen is going to go and buy strawberry donut kratom extract shots? I'm saying it's possible, but I really feel like these things are aimed at young people. And then the same with these drinks. They're like wellness drink, right? It's a seltzer. Well, unfortunately, it's full of kratom. And then we have fruit chews. We have various types of gummies. This is that, live happy. This is Happy Hippo. A lot of things that are, again, I think very interesting to young people and children. And they look very innocuous. They don't tell you how dangerous they can be. Again, here's some more. So like I said, shots, concentrated powders, gummies, these are the kind of products that I'm seeing now. One other thing about kratom is I did see a really interesting article that a lady came into an ER and she had overdosed. Her husband brought her in. They had no idea what was wrong. And they gave her Narcan because that's how bad it was. She was just out. Gave her Narcan. She came back to, and they said, "What kind of opioids is your wife using?" And she said, "She's not using any opioids." And she was using kratom. So I don't know how often that happens, but that just shows you how close this drug kratom is to opioids. And I'm hoping there'll be a lot more research done on that. So I'm going to talk about a couple other products that are out there. This you've probably heard of. It's been around for a long time. So synthetic marijuana. If you remember back, those of you that are old enough, in 2010, 2011, back then, these products were being sold in convenience stores, gas stations, and there were Scooby snacks and things that were really marketed, again, towards kids. But the adults were 100% caught off guard. We had no idea what this is. And they were calling it like sometimes there was bath salts, and these products were like fertilizers. They're very good at coming up with ways to disguise things. But the young people and the children knew what it was, and they were purchasing this at the convenience stores specifically. And they were getting really sick, becoming psychotic, ending up in a mental institution, and also getting sick from the other side effects of it. Now, the DEA has made this a scheduled product, so you don't see it as much. It's still out there on the black market, and I'm sure there's other ways to get it, but it's just something to know about. They're very, very dangerous. And we had in Florida about 2 years ago, we had several people get extremely sick from using this product, and they got sick because it was laced with rat poison. So you can just imagine how these unregulated products are made. You really don't know. I mean, I remember when this came out, I saw a law enforcement did a video on how it's made, and it was a big warehouse. They had all the leafy material spread out on the floor of the warehouse, and then they sprayed it with the active ingredient. So no wonder you could get something like rat poison in there. So all of these types of things, like I said, this is just like a reference for you so that you'll know what's out there. This particular one you will not see, hopefully, in a convenience store, but it's still available on the black market. Some of the adverse effects are elevated blood pressure and heart rate, hallucinations, palpitations, agitation, seizures, nausea, vomiting, anxiety and panic attacks, psychosis, acute kidney failure, and death. And like like I said, that's kind of what this looks like. If you see that picture, it's plant material that's sprayed with something, and it could be smoked or used in e-cigarettes, mixed in tea or food. Another product that's around now, so magic mushrooms or the psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin, that's illegal according to the DEA. It's Schedule 1. There's other mushrooms. Of course, they're finding all these other mushrooms. So the Amanita mushroom is the one that can have psychedelic effects, but it hasn't been declared Schedule 1 yet. But it looks like this. You might have seen these. I tend to go to events and conventions with sort of the what do we want to call it? Well, like the hemp industry, they'll have a big convention, alternative medicines. This is very popular. And I have a picture of my friend Teresa and I sitting under a huge mushroom that was red with the white spots. But it does cause psychedelic effects. This is what a lot of the smoke shops and even your convenience stores, they're selling this because, again, the DEA hasn't scheduled it. It comes in ways that it can be smoked or it can be used as an edible or a liquid, a shot. It's vapes. They're coming up with all these different ways to use it. And until the DEA catches up with them, it's going to be out there and we just need to know about it. And this is another thing that I'm seeing mixed in with other products. So you might see mushrooms mixed with kratom, or you might see the mushrooms mixed with Delta 8. And look at the products, would be very interesting to young people. You may have heard, this was like a couple of months ago, the FDA sent out an alert. And there was 8 people in 4 different states sickened by something called diamond shrooms microdosing chocolate bars. And this isn't something like, it's not illegal unless the state makes it illegal. I mean, that's the way these things are working out nationwide. The DEA hasn't scheduled them, so it's really up to the states as what they want to do about it. But the bars have caused a series of illnesses in Arizona, Nevada, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. The reported symptoms include seizures and loss of consciousness. So there was it's an alert. I don't know if they did a recall I would really like to see the FDA do something besides send alerts out, to be honest. I mean, I would like to see them do some fines, to actually go in there and confiscate the products. Something like that would be nice, but at least they are giving warnings and alerts, so that's good. I'm trying to remember how I should say this. Tianeptine. I'm just going to say it like that because I can't remember exactly how to pronounce it, but it is an emerging drug. And recently, Florida made it illegal. We had our attorney general declare that it was a dangerous substance, and we passed a law to make it illegal. But many other states did not. So depending on what state you're in, it may be a legal product that could be purchased in convenience stores and gas stations. And it's a really dangerous drug. It can cause overdose and death. So it's recently emerged on the illicit drug market. According to case reports, it is abused for its euphoric properties, similar to other opioids like heroin. So they're calling it gas station heroin. That's what it's referred to. Severe adverse effects, including respiratory depression, sedation, and death. Just think about opioids and heroin, and that's what this is. But unfortunately, you can buy it probably in your state in a convenience store. And people that start using it, they'll have the euphoric effects, they become addicted, and then they end up buying more and more. And they can do what happens with addiction. They can lose their job, they can lose their family, and they can lose their life. So something else that we need to be aware of. I just think things are so much different. When I was growing up in the 70s, there was just like marijuana and alcohol, and now there's all of these drugs that you can buy in convenience stores and gas stations. It's difficult to be an employer or a parent or a grandparent because you just have to keep up with these trends. So it also would, like I said, it is addictive and it can cause severe withdrawal that requires hospitalization. So these products we're talking about, they are sending people to treatment agencies, inpatient treatment for some of them, hospitalization, detox units. So if you do have at your workplace programs to help people, so first of all, you've got to set your policy, right? You have to be aware of these things. They're not Schedule 1, so they're not going to be really, under drug-free workplace necessarily. You might have to work out your own policy on this and let people know. First of all, educate them. But if you want none of the use at your place of employment and you don't want anyone driving under the influence of these things, you might have to write a policy that spells that out. And then if someone breaks the policy, it's better not to fire them, but try to get them help. And I'm sure you have programs like that where you could help people get into counseling and get into treatment to, if they're addicted to it, to help them, into recovery. This is what it looks like. So Tiana is one of the names. Pegasus, it's also called gas station dope. TD Red and Zaza. Some of you might have heard of that because that's one of the things I heard about on the news off and on is something called Zaza. So that's a pretty popular brand of this. It's also called Red Devils, Pegasus Red, and Tia. The FDA considers tianeptine to be a substance that doesn't meet the standard definition of a dietary ingredient. Well, that's nice, right? I'm glad this isn't a standard dietary ingredient. So it's an unsafe food additive. Tianeptine is used as a prescription drug in other countries, in Europe, Asia, and Latin American countries, but it is not approved as a drug in the United States. The FDA is aware of serious adverse events. Consumers may find themselves addicted to tianeptine. So thank you, FDA, for giving us information and a warning. And I know I kind of went through that really fast. Sorry about that. But I wanted to give you some references. And again, this PowerPoint is yours to use however you want. Please feel free to educate others. But the National Institute of Drug Abuse is a great resource for more information. Of course, Drug Free America Foundation, we know what a great resource they are. Partnership for Drug Free Kids, SAMHSA, Florida Alcohol and Drug Abuse Association. And I just saw today, I got an email that I haven't even been able to get to yet, but they had an alert on Delta 8 that just came out today from FATA. So I'm going to read that after I get through with this. And then Smart Approaches to Marijuana is a really good site that covers the Delta 8 products as well as marijuana, including all types of marijuana legalization. So that's your go-to if your state is experiencing something like possible either medical marijuana legalization or recreational. They're a really good reference for that. And that is my presentation, and I would be really glad to get some input. I thought if you all want to share a story, maybe something that happened at your workplace or any questions that you might have.
Thanks so much for that, Ellen. I'm going to leave the floor open for a little bit. Folks, feel free to pop any questions you might have in the Q&A or drop them in the chat. If there's anything you would like to share, I'll just leave it open for a minute or two and see if we get anyone who's raring to share.
Okay, I see a question that popped up. Can these substances be detected in typical urine screening? The answer to that is likely no, except for the Delta 8 products, only because they are so close to the Delta 9. A lot of times the drug test will pick up THC. You're not going to know if it's a Delta 8 or Delta 9. So that's what I understand is that it will get picked up in a THC test. But some of the other things that I mentioned, as far as I know, I don't think kratom would be picked up. Tianeptine, I don't think that would be picked up. I don't really know for sure, but I'm thinking a typical panel, you wouldn't be able to tell, like on the THC, whether it's Delta 8 or Delta 9. There is testing for that, but it would have to be more advanced type of testing to tell the difference between the two. I don't know. I'm looking at the Q&A now.
I say we've just
See
got a
what there's
couple
in.
popping in now. This is great. We
Okay.
appreciate the thanks, of course, to Ellen. She's very knowledgeable on these topics. It may not be as knowledgeable on the workplace side of it, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. To the best of my ability. Of course, none of us are lawyers. We do it is absolutely recommended, required that you speak to your lawyer at that works with your company, because there are different, as you all know, there are different laws at the federal level, at the state level, some even region level, some even city level about these things. There are labs that will test for kratom. There are some labs that will test for a variety of these substances, but they don't necessarily come in that base panel that many employers choose. So it's something that obviously you want to take a look at with your companies. All right, in the Q&A here, I do see from Amanda. She says, we're seeing an uptick in Delta 8 with children, and autism is a form of treatment. So what kind of messaging would be best, in your opinion, to kind of deal with that?
Okay. First of all, the idea that, let's say, medical marijuana is a treatment for autism, there's no scientific evidence for that. In my opinion, I've even seen research showing that when women use THC during pregnancy, they may have more of an incidence of their child having autism. So I would say it is not a good treatment, whether it's medical marijuana or Delta 8. And I think we all know that. THC is really detrimental for the developing brain. If there's, so your question is great, and we are seeing things like this. Like people, it's bad enough, honestly, when adults use these things, when they shouldn't and not under a doctor's care. But for a child with autism to use Delta 8, and we know it's unregulated, it could have contaminants. So what would the messaging be? They see it's better than medical THC. Guess what? The hemp shots are telling them that. That's what I've heard, because I went up and testified in Tallahassee when we were trying to outlaw Delta 8. The different hemp stores, the managers and the clerks would be there, and they said they would downplay medical marijuana. Oh, that stuff, that's no good for you. It's too expensive. Come to our shop and get this product. It's cheaper and it's better for you. So number one, I tell people, don't listen to whoever's selling you something. But for autism, they should be under a doctor's care for the treatment. They should not rely on anything with THC in it. And I'll have to think about that a little more, but I don't even know what kind of messaging, except that the one thing is the THC is very detrimental for the developing brain. So it only should be used, if ever, under a doctor's care.
Absolutely.
I don't know if anyone else
The
wants to throw
expert.
anything out. Yeah,
No, for
I'm
sure.
not. That's really got me going. I'm thinking like this poor child with autism getting Delta 8.
Doctors and lawyers, I mean, these people, they are the experts in their field. And of course, there's nobody's perfect, but we definitely want to defer to the experts. And as much as you can turn them to, hey, have you read this thing? Have you talked to this
Mm-hmm.
person? To pull out the actual facts and the studies. Not everyone may be open to that right away, but that's no reason why we can't present it to them. And so when
Yeah, like you said, it's always good to be non-judgmental, have a conversation, just say like, what are you doing? We're just having a conversation here. But when you're talking to an actual person that you want to counsel, you would always be objective and, non-judgmental, and just have a conversation about it and try to get more information from them. Like, why are you doing this? Did you have trouble with other possible medications? Where did you hear this would be good? And I will try to do a little research on this specific topic to find out what I can see in the medical literature as far as using it as a treatment. Because I think it's always good if you have something in writing from a doctor or from a research study that would say that, really THC is not the best way to treat autism, then that helps too. You're just giving them facts. So I think that's important to stick with facts.
absolutely 100%. I think there's no better person to ask this question. Is there any coordinated effort to ban these substances? Maybe Ellen, you can tell us a little bit more about the work you've been doing to do just that.
Yes, actually there is, and my passion is policy. So yes, anything that can be done about that, I've been looking into it. And at the national level, there's the Farm Bill, and it's being renewed as we speak. Like, we don't know, over the next year, it should be renewed. And there is an amendment to the Farm Bill that would make these things illegal. And I have to say, I'm praying on this one because it's so difficult to get anything passed nowadays because lobbies. Who knew? There's a hemp lobby. They're very, very strong and they have a lot of money. And there's so many different things you could do with hemp, clothing, building materials, just unbelievable number of things, environmentally friendly substance, right? But guess what their biggest money maker is right now, unfortunately, are these intoxicating products they're making out of CBD. So the lobby will fight it, but at the national level, if we can get that amendment passed in the Farm Bill, these products would be illegal. CBD wouldn't be illegal. It's just that these THC products that are making our kids sick and adults, those would be illegal. So we're just hoping that you can, if you're interested, we can get the bill number or, more information about that too. Because I know there was a specific amendment that passed, and we're just hoping it'll pass the House and the Senate. And then at our state level in Florida, we had a bill that passed 2 years ago that made it age 21. I already mentioned this, no marketing to kids, but that isn't enough. We're still having huge problems with these products. So another bill passed this year, the House and the Senate, but unfortunately our governor vetoed it, and we're going to have to regroup and go after it again in 2025. But it is something that's being worked out on the national level, and then each state has the ability to ban this if they can. And it takes a lot of work, and I would love to help anybody that wants to do that in their state.
Absolutely. So much of this work is, being done at the ground level, which is fantastic. And so much of it comes down to just educating people. I know that before I started working in this field, I had no idea the implications and a lot of the consequences of using some of these things. Because again, just like your average person, I'm walking in going, well, it's in the gas station. How bad could it possibly be? So I think education is a huge part of that. So we're glad that you've all joined us today. And this one, again, none of us may have a perfect answer to, but just to say, a little bit of an opinion here. We have obviously seen some hesitancy from the FDA to confront some of these things. And if you had any comments on why that is and anything we can do to combat it.
Well, the FDA is a federal agency, and they are limited into what they can do. They do have like a law enforcement part of them, but think about, it's this whole country, and they're limited on the number of inspectors they have and the law enforcement agents that they have. And also, they are a federal agency, so they may be told at the top level that we really don't want you doing this. So there's politics involved. And I think they would like to do their job to really crack down on a lot of these things, and they do the best they can. So I find it, I'm kind of frustrated with them, but there's probably not much more they can do. So at least what they're doing is they are giving us really good information. They're educating us. That's one of the first places I went to get my education on this topic. And I feel like the last time it was updated was in May of 2022. And I know they want to update it more, but like I said, there's probably some politics involved, but I think they're doing the best they can. And I would like to see, if these things were to be legal, it should go through the FDA process. It should not be legalized by a vote, and it shouldn't be legalized by default that you're just starting to sell this in gas stations and convenience stores. And so it's legal and there's nothing you can do about it. So the FDA has a certain role to play. And if these companies want to take the time to do clinical trials and get these things as a medicine or approved as a safe dietary supplement or a dietary ingredient, go for it. But right now, that's not how it is. And I think the FDA's hands are tied.
Yeah, certainly anything having to do with policy, especially at a federal level. We are a very large country, and trying to get everybody to agree on all the things, even if they may be the best cases, can certainly be a tricky subject. So we appreciate your thoughts on that as well. Last call for questions. Taking a look through to make sure I didn't miss anything. A number of thank yous to Ellen for doing this groundwork, providing us with this information. All right, fantastic. Well, thank you, Ellen. We cannot appreciate your expertise and your experience in this enough. I know that there's so much more out there that we could delve into today. I'll be sure to provide your information to the folks attending, as well as those who might catch the recording. Thank you so much for being willing to present to this on this
Sure.
for this particular audience. There's so much more that we could learn from you. If you do have further questions on this, of course, feel free to reach out to myself, to reach out to Ellen, of course, to the National Drug-Free Workplace Alliance. We do this sort of work to help workplaces do exactly this kind of thing, make sure that everyone is safe and supported in their workplace. You can find more about us at ndwa.org. Feel free to connect with us on any of the social medias. We are out there. And thank you again so much, Ellen, for your time today. Thank you all for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your day and be safe out there.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.